India had the stringest lockdown in the world in the initial places. When there was only one case, we had a lockdown of the worst kind. But during the lockdown, are you sure that we were able to create enough infrastructure, sensitivity, awareness, so that we could have prevented this kind of large lockdown for 7 months and adversely affecting the economy? Number two, what you are talking about, old people, the figure which has come today, which I've seen in the newspaper, largest number of people who have died because of COVID is between the age of 30 to 50, not the older one. That is a worrying point, because they're the economic creators, wealth creators, who are working actively in the field, and they are dying of COVID more often. There is some problem, some kind of a problem in how to deal with the young population who are getting it. Don't you think lockdown was not in a position to create the infrastructure, awareness, or whatever you wanted to prevent the maximum, to minimize the impact of COVID?
Well, you've asked two questions, so let me respond to those one by one. Let us cast our minds back to March. And when anyone is taking a decision, one is taking a decision in the absence of perfect information. With perfect information, and information is imperfect even now, there may or may not be better decision making. It remains counterfactual. In March, there were models, and these models were forecasting COVID infections for India of 700 million, and they were projecting 30 million deaths. And those projections by more than one person were all over the media, were being cited by medical professionals. So in terms of a government's decision, given all of this evidence, so-called evidence and so-called modeling that was coming from the medical fraternity, it was very difficult to resist a lockdown, knowing fully well the consequences of that on economic activity. Because as a counterfactual, if the number of deaths had shot up to about 5 million, it would have been the government which would have been culpable.
Okay, you completely. Okay, sorry.
The fact of the matter is that the number of deaths in India compared to what was being projected is just around 100,000 now, 1 lakh. Now, this is a counterfactual, so one can never establish anything one way or the other. I'm just underlying what all of these models said in March. The second point you made is about the young. Now, sometimes the young also have comorbidities. I'm not talking about diabetes, but certainly heart disease has not spared the young either. If one were to generalize, I'm inclined to think, and it is indeed true, that compared to many other countries, it is the young who are dying in India. But one must be a little bit careful. One needs to be a little bit careful in making cross-country comparisons, because the life expectancy in other countries is much higher. So it is perfectly understandable that the people who are dying in other countries, on an average, would be older than those dying in India. Having said that, I all think, partly anecdotal, because it is very difficult to establish this statistically, I think the young are a little bit more careless about the social distancing and the masks.